This is the moment you've all been waiting for, where we talk about rollovers. The rollover effect is simply an image in which you move the mouse on top of it and it swaps out with another image. And if you roll off of it, it swaps back or changes. It's very, very simple to see that on a lot of web pages. Now, I have to warn you that the JavaScript for this is actually quite complex, and it's something that you will want to turn to for reference. But honestly, there are a lot of programs out there, particularly Macromedia's Dreamweaver and Macromedia Fireworks, and all sorts of other similar programs which will write JavaScript for rollovers for you. And they will accomplish this using JavaScript that is far more complex than even this is. And the important thing here is to understand basically what's going on here and not the extreme technicality of what's going on, unless you want to turn into a JavaScript geek. So I'm going to minimize the Explorer window here, and I'm going to start up right here. And this is the critical line for JavaScript rollovers to work. Now, what does this mean, if document.images? Well, what this basically means is your JavaScript in your browser advanced enough to handle rollovers? So in JavaScript 1.1, there came about the image object. That object was not available in JavaScript 1.0. So JavaScript 1.1 was only available in Netscape, Navigator 2.0 and up, and Internet Explorer 4.0 and up. So rollovers do not work in Internet Explorer before version 4, and they don't work in Netscape Navigator 1, if there are any still in existence. So this particular if statement basically means if your browser supports rollovers, then execute these lines of code. Otherwise, we need to assign some variables to some sort of fake values right now, or empty values, just so the browser won't have a fit. So we create two image objects here and give them a name, FW arrow up and FW arrow over. These become image objects, FW standing for forward in my use of the term there. And what we do is we define the source of the image as forward.gif, and the source of the over image, when we are over the arrow, it changes to forward1.gif. This has the effect of loading the images into the computer's memory before the page loads. This helps so that there is no degradation as the person puts the mouse over the image. You don't have to wait while the image loads from the server. It's already preloaded. So this basically tests the browser and preloads the images. This code is necessary to, again, if the browser does not support rollovers, we need to make sure that there are no errors generated by this JavaScript. And this is older browser stuff. If you're assuming that people are coming to your site with 4.0 browsers and up, then you don't need to use that else statement, but it will cause some anxiety for some people with old browsers. Now, that is the tough part. Here, the code is actually fleshed out in the HTML. We simply call inside of the anchor tag two JavaScript events, on mouse over when our mouse actually goes over a link, and on mouse out when we exit the link. And here we just assign the source for the one object, one image object, to forward1.gif, which changes it, swaps it over, in this case to the red image. And then when we move the mouse off the object or out of the object, it swaps it back to the original. So we start off with forward.gif. When we move the mouse over it, it becomes forward1.gif, and then back over on. When we leave the image, it goes to forward.gif again, and that's where it ends up. Now, in order to assign the image to forward.gif, you use this simple image source attribute here. And the important thing that you must do is have the name FW arrow be consistent with the FW arrow in the on mouse over, the on mouse out here, and also here where it says document.fw arrow. Those are very, very, very important to keep the same in your JavaScript. Otherwise, this won't work. Now, this is code for a single rollover. If you were to have multiple rollovers in a page, the code gets much more dense, particularly if you don't use arrays of images, which is what these new programs actually do automatically in the JavaScript that they produce. Okay, we're going to leave this example, and we're going to go on to another example, which is a little bit more complex, where we're going to have two JavaScript rollovers, and then finally one last example where we show you the code necessary to do what's known as a disjointed rollover, where you roll over one image and another image changes.